fellas, a good Wednesday evening. I'm Chase Miller. Welcome to another edition of the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show. A little bit of everything tonight, from volleyball with Kathleen Rustad as the Hawley Nuggets won their first state title in program history. We'll hear from Kathleen Rustad, the head coach of the Nuggets, and recap the historic run to a state volleyball championship. Also from there, a lot of football coming up between some Dakota Bowl previews on Friday at the Fargo, also some Minnesota semifinal football round previews. We'll hear from Brian Nelson as an example from Fertile-Beltrami. We'll hear from a handful of the Fargo Metro teams that are making their way to the Dakota Bowl. That and more as well coming up. And then also our senior spotlight is with Lily Olson of Hawley. And then we'll have a Warroad boys hockey program as well on the segment here coming up, with Warroad boys hockey getting to the ice with their practices. So a lot of everything today on the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show. And a reminder, we will have our first Warroad girls hockey game on Friday night here on YourLiveEvent.com. We'll get to the program. Here's our own Kevin Kochman with Kathleen Rustad here to open up the show on the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show. Is presented to you by the Hillsborough Economic Development Corporation.
YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show to recap the season of Hawley Volleyball with the head coach of the Nuggets, Kathleen Rustad, and we'll say it again, state champions, the AA state champion Hawley Nugget volleyball team. It seems like it was so long ago that we were chatting to start the season in August. I remember saying, well, you guys are ranked, and you did a good job of being the coach and say, you know what, we're going to squash those rankings. At the end of the year is all that matters. And for the first time in program history, nay, the first time in school history, Hawley has a state champion. That is something special. Congratulations, coach, and to your team. This is a historic event, historic season that the Nuggets completed.
Definitely a fun season. Can't deny that for sure. But like you said, it's historic for the whole community. There's been people and fingers and spreading out in lots of different directions. Pretty cool to see.
Absolutely. So I know I had a chance to talk with Nicole Martin, one of your assistants, who's had a long time coaching volleyball for the Nuggets, involved in the program, and does, as I told her, too many things. She does a lot of things for the program, and I know you really appreciate her and others. She gave us a great rundown on Saturday's Coach's Corner about what the week was like for the team. But and in your eyes, what was the week like last week? Just as a whole, is it a blur? I mean, how do you describe the week that you had?
I think it was like a blink of an eye right now. I remember Monday having practice and things were just coming, and, you're organizing all these different things. And Kelly's talking and Brett's talking and all the details leading up to that. Then so we get down there, we scheduled a practice and we thought there's going to be a little more downtime for the girls. And we didn't plan a whole lot for activities wise other than a practice. And the girls just asked that Wednesday. I don't think we had much going on, but the upper classes were playing and all of them wanted to go watch the 3A, 4A games that we could see that next day. So we did that on that Wednesday. And still, the anticipation and the excitement, it was all there. Eyes were wide when we went into the Excel. And then Thursday came around and I think there was some jitters. I think we saw some jitters on the court, but you try to tell them it's just a regular game, even though, this is a little bit different than a regular game. I think when we were at the practice gym at Hamlin, somebody had mentioned, the gym's the same size or the court's the same size, gym looks a little different. And, you can tell them all those things, but until they actually step onto that court, it doesn't really mean a whole lot. So then Thursday, they were jazzed up for the game. Got their feet wet a little bit and then took them in 5. And then Thursday, each game day seemed like I guess it just seemed a little bit more traditional game day, I guess you'd say. I mean, it wasn't traditional because they didn't know any better than, at the state tournament, but they just did their scouting like we normally do. And they had their times that they ate that we tried to keep it somewhat similar that they did. I don't know, but it wasn't anything similar to what they'd done before. So I don't know. They just, and then, finished it out, I guess, as a state champion and rode back, and everybody's just flying high right now, I think. Yeah.
I know that the victory to start with the St. Croix Lutheran, a quality win for the kids, but anything but the usual traditional. However, it took 5 sets, and that is not something a lot of times you get a team that's run the gamut throughout the season, and they've been tested, no question, but maybe not as many 5-setters. Your team seasoned with the 5-set matches, be able to fight through the ebbs and flows, ups and downs, as a credit to the type of program that you coach with and coach against. I mean, you got a lot of great competition throughout the year. That bodes well. Going 5 sets and finding ways to win in those, that matters.
It does matter. I think there's been not just this year, but last year we kind of joked that we had 5-setters, like, I don't know, like every other game or every game that we had. I feel like it was just something in it was make them have endurance. So no, we're no stranger to 5-setter games, and it did come in handy this time. But there were some really even the 4-set games that we had. There was serious long rallies where these girls, there was probably 10 times it went over, maybe even more. I don't even know, but there was some long rallies, even leading up to the very last point. I remember just thinking, oh my gosh, it's still alive. It's still alive.
Friday against Chatfield, avenging a loss from the Midwest Volleyball Tournament, and again doing it the way you guys did, coming from behind and getting it. That, not that you're going to maybe use those as motivation, but for your kids, I don't know if you needed more motivation than if you win this year in the championship game, right? I mean, did it matter that you played them before?
Uh, I think some of them, had even mentioned, I don't remember playing them. That was a long tournament. It was an excellent tournament. They were tired in that tournament. And so I think emotionally, some of them kind of checked out, really. Some of them remembered, though, the team. But, tournaments are different too. They play different. Everybody plays different in a tournament, I feel like, than it is an actual single game. But I think there's a little motivation there too. They beat you, and there's a little desire down in there inside. You just want to get a little more, out the next time around.
They brought it Saturday morning. What's it like preparing for a state championship match? I mean, because your kids' demeanor, and you know what they maybe need, or what they what will help them get to that next level. What was it like preparing for this match for a championship?
I don't know. I just do what we normally do. They just got up, had breakfast, and keep them together. We just say, hey, what do you normally eat? And I think the girls actually want to go to Starbucks or something, all this down in city stuff. We don't have Starbucks in Hawley, right? So It's like, oh, can we go to Starbucks? That was one thing I said, well, do you normally drink Starbucks before a game? And I think one of them's like, well, no. Well, maybe let's just skip the Starbucks. We'll save it for afterwards. I'll buy it after. So try to keep it normal, as normal as it can be. We did go downtown a little bit, do a little walk down there, and saw a monument, Herbie's monument. So that was kind of fun. That was very fun. Yeah, and then watched a little bit of the game before, like we do watch JV. Yep.
Trying to keep things normal is difficult. Like you say, there's so many things, and what fans and people maybe hey, we're going to state, and it's treated like a vacation almost, right? It's busy, but when you're involved as, let's see, you're organizing, you're helping organize, you're the coach, you got to be in charge. You're a mom, you got that to go involved with this year's program. You're an aunt, you got that going on in the program too. I got to imagine that even carries some different level of tie to it. Anything you want to talk on that point?
It's pretty special. All avenues are pretty special. Being a parent, you're feeling all the feels, right? And the nerves and all that. You obviously want the best for your own child. That's parent. As a coach, you definitely want the best out of them, because you can see all the potential in all of them working together. That's pretty special stuff when they actually achieve, and win or lose, when they play to their best of ability, your heart is full too. And then and Katie Vetter is my goddaughter, so there's something special there too. And I have another niece on the team, Emma, so there's family there too. And just knowing, gosh, these coaches, they spend more time doing stuff off the court than anybody even knows. Jen was driving the bus. Nicole was helping wash. Jen was washing jerseys too. Like all these little things, like you said, that really the logistically have to get done, and making sure people have what they need to get done, and their tape is ready to go, and all that stuff. I honestly don't think it could have happened without all the coaches there. And parents, there's a text string going on for parents too. So we got in on all the fun stuff coming up, leading up to the game and all that excitement too. I don't know if it could have been any more special. You're getting it from all avenues. It's pretty awesome.
It's pretty cool. I remember last year during your season banquet at the end of the year, and the kids were. I mean, it was just subdued excitement. I don't know, because last year the season ended, a couple games too soon. I think is the feel. You could feel there was some hunger. You laid it out there last year, saying there's it's open for you guys. You want to come and you go get it, and they answered. And I think back to September, those tough times when you're trying to find the road after Izzy got hurt, and you don't want to dwell on that, but that was a huge moment of the season. They could have gone down or could have gone up, and you saw the ups and downs and lived it. And something sparked them. I don't know what it is. I don't know if you could pinpoint it, but that the month of September was a wild ride that eventually led them to a state championship in November.
Yeah. Like you said, there was some ups, there was some downs. I think that injury that Izzy had was a big punch to the gut for a lot of them. They just did a real internal reflection, like what I'm so proud of those girls. They're high school girls. Emotions are running high. There's a lot of detours along the way, when they get to their maturity, and they just came together. Like you said, what was the exact thing? Was it a multiple of things that happened? Was it, who knows? But was it parents just reassuring them, they're a team, do it together? Izzy on the sidelines cheering them? Was it the community members? Was it, and like Stella, she didn't come in till a week later too, because she had a high ankle sprain that was keeping her down too. So she had to work through some struggles. And I just feel like Katie had a shoulder injury, it's all these little things, like they were just, I think it's normal to doubt. I do think that is, but these girls didn't let it happen for very long. That's for sure.
Yeah, it was special. Not that any individual effort was more than others. There was two that I took out of when checking in on games, recaps, whatever you may have it, and just seeing the teams grow. But the Annika Johnson, Adrina Liebenau, Hannah Stotts, and then you mentioned Sella, you mentioned Emma Sandus too. Just the level that they reached in the month of November was really special and helped helped Ingrid, helped Katie, and just it took that crew to another level in the last 5-6 matches. It just really stretched.
I would agree. I think even in the last, I would say 2 weeks, they just were going up. We talked about every game, somebody has an off game, right? But even if they have an off game, not everybody can tell because we got so balanced. There's everybody else on the floor that does something, that brings something to the table. So, but when nobody has one of their worst games, right, and everybody just ups it a notch and gets one more kill. And serving wise, I want to say our kiddos serving and passing came a long ways towards the end of the tournament, even into the end of the tournament, and looking at like Southwest Christian. I don't know how many 5-setters they'd been in. I don't know their history, but these girls just executed at the end, and their errors were as minimal, I think, as we'd seen almost all season.
Joke about the keys to success, passing and serving.
Really?
And limiting errors. We could hit rinse and repeat every time on a pregame show and talk about those. And if you do that at the best level, and you're at the end, you're going to come out. I mean, it's just the way it's going to be. And your kids proved it again. You talk about community and obviously the pride that should be felt. For the first time, Hawley High School sports has a state champion. That's something that the first time I learned of it, I questioned, like, really? I've seen all these trophies. You walk into that trophy,
Right.
You see everywhere, and there's a proud sports community to be a Nugget, to never have taken a title, and now that title trophy is going to be there, and it's going to be right there. I mean, this is something that some of these kids may not quite understand. I mean, the immense community swelling and support that they'll have from this. It's incredible.
Was super, super fun when you were down on the floor and you looked up at the stands, and there was every single age out there, from grandmas that could barely walk with walkers or whatever, to little infants that were only a month old. It was just so incredible. So it spans every generation. It's pretty awesome.
And your kids, your team, made some special bonds throughout the year. Just throwing that out there too. Obviously, you talk about the age gaps, and it's neat to see. And I don't know if there's another gymnasium that you go to in the area that has as many young kids running around during a volleyball match. I don't know, but they're there. And guess what? Next year, there's going to be more of them there because it breeds excitement. But the relationship that the kids built with the senior living in Hawley, and being able to go into, I mean, the community stuff that these kids do. Yeah, it adds to the level of pride that they should feel and that the community should feel.
Yeah, I would agree. There was an alumni page that went on as a Facebook page, and they all were sending their 2 cents in. And for the girls, Kirsty, I think, and some parents were behind this, and probably some alumni put these little quotes together on a ring and put it in their little gift bag. And a lot of them read it on the way down there, and they were seeing people in the community that had been on a volleyball team or been an alumni that they maybe didn't even know were from Hawley. I didn't know they were from Hawley, and here they're writing special messages to this team. That makes it even more connected, even more pride. They're carrying on that for those people that didn't get that chance. There was Tracy Baxter. She was the first one on the first volleyball team that had sent a message to the girls. Just that stuff is, it's bigger than themselves. If they and I think they realized that, by the end, I think they were like, wow, themselves. They're looking at everybody out there supporting businesses, school staff, everybody, alumni. I mean, you look at it, announcers, I just all over the board. There's a lot of pride in this community. Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Looking back on some that are able to make it to the welcome home and all that excitement too, and the quick change. We're gonna have it that night. I mean, bringing that all together, just really special. The memories, the other items that I know that'll settle in. I did get a kick out of the fact that you've got the Heart of Lakes Conference All-Star match that you got some kids playing in that thing day after they won a state title.
Yeah, I think they were a little tired.
I would venture to guess.
But it was a nice closure, I think, to see all the other athletes in their section that they're representing, whether it be single A or double A. And I think they were like, wow, you know what, this is pretty cool. There's other great athletes out here, and hopefully they represented well. But it was fun to just play on the same side and all the barriers come down, lots of giggling, lots of laughing, and high-fiving all across the board there.
All right. So not trying to pull on heartstrings at all. That's never my goal, but it certainly was. You talked about those quotes, and I read through the Nugget Volleyball Facebook page, had all the quotes, all the nice, the artwork, the stuff done behind the scenes. Again, that stuff they're not making millions of dollars doing this stuff, right? They're putting time and effort for the kids. But it was neat to read those, and I read every single one of them. And then the one that got me at the end is Faith Rustad, and I don't know if you know this Faith Rustad gal, but pretty special gal. But because I'm reading it, I'm like, okay, I know who her mom is. I'm going through the best is right at the top. It says, "You belong." And they certainly did.
Yeah, they certainly did.
Yeah, really cool stuff. Holding up a state championship trophy. It's got to be pretty cool, Coach.
Pretty cool. And I hope these girls do know that they belong to something special. And the game of volleyball maybe doesn't define them as a person, but they belong to something special, and they always will.
Very cool stuff. Obviously there's some seniors on this group that are going to be gratefully missed. You're going to have a really loaded up crew that's excited about coming back next year, but you'd be remiss if you didn't say something about your seniors, if you would, real quick, because they brought home a state title, and I know that they were really excited about pushing this year. Yes,
definitely those seniors. Well, we'll start out with, we'll go in number order.
Sure.
We got Emma Stanis. Brings a lot of energy, a lot of pizzazz to these girls, and she's formed relationships with multiple ages on multiple levels in class. She hasn't been here since kindergarten. So I think, when she stepped her feet in the water right away, with anyone moving into a school right away, it's probably a little bit of a challenge. But I tell you what, she really has settled in with the players and gotten to know them in more ways than one, on and off the court, but she is our communicator. She is just likes to bring the pizzazz. So I'm going to miss that. I don't want to say loudmouth on the court, but sometimes it can be a loudmouth on the court. Yeah. Ingrid Rustad, obviously, she's a setter. When you have setters on the court and they touch the ball every single time. My last child, a little bit of that going on. So definitely going to miss her. And, she's a director on the court. She's talking to kids all the time, making connections all across the board from A to Z, whether they're on the bench or not. Managers, whether they're on the bench or not, or up videoing or whatever. Good communicator too. Gonna miss her. I'm gonna miss that leadership too. And then you have Miss Izzy Steer. She is one of the best teammates, and she was voted that last year. She gets along with everybody. And despite all of her medical stuff going on, just went down. She has been one of the most mature athletes I think I have seen in regards to handling an injury like that and coming back and supporting her team. She didn't get dealt a real good deck of cards there. But this team is definitely going to miss her and her influence on the team and what she has accomplished and been a part of. And then we have Haley Jelinek last. And I don't know if she ever doesn't bring a smile or has ever said anything mean to anyone. She maybe doesn't see a whole lot of court time, but she has been the most committed person, and she is always building others up. She wants to be there. You can definitely tell she's committed to everything that has been offered to her. And still on the bench, she is cheering for her teammates and being one of the best supporters on the bench and doing everything that she knows how to do as a senior. And I guess I should mention Alex Gooderjohn too. She is a senior manager. She just jumped on board the team this year, and everybody knows her. Alex Gooderjohn, she's, small school, everybody knows everybody, but she asked to be a manager along with Addie Sandbeck, who's a junior. And I really, really am going to miss Alex too. She gives it her all too. She's just excited to be a part of the group. We're excited to have her. She brings a little bit of comedy, a little flair with her wherever she goes. Gotta love her. But she's just willing to do. You ask her to do something and she said, you tell her to jump, she says how high. You ask her to this, sure, Kat, I will. And what a good group of seniors going into this special year, and a good group of seniors heading out. It's a good way to lead. I appreciate every single one of them.
And I know you have a ton of thank yous, and you do a great job of making sure everybody knows that. So I won't make you do that on the air, but I know that from the standpoint of your coaching staff, you lean on them for many different reasons, and they are a huge. You talk about having fingers everywhere. They absolutely do. You've got them all throughout, and they put a lot of time in.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it wouldn't be fair or do justice if I didn't talk about them either. I think we had one of the most experienced coaching staff probably across the board, looking at a lot of other coaching staffs. And there's a lot of experience out there. But I mean, Carrie's been a head coach. Jen's been a head coach. Nicole's been a head coach. And Miguel just brings the energy, right? He's willing to do whatever he can, and the kids love him. But I really do appreciate Nicole. She is a good sounding board for me. She is everything that I am not. I am not organized. I don't think ahead. I don't get things in line. She is that for me. And the girls, she is their biggest cheerleader, no doubt. So I really, really do appreciate Nicole in so many ways. And then Jen came along, and she is cheering them on. She's excited about the game. She's willing to do whatever you want her to do, showing up. And she's like bringing apple crisp for the girls in the mornings. I mean, she shows up and she's just ready to rock and roll. Carrie Vetter, volunteer. I mean, she spends her time just because she loves the game. She's got a passion for it. She's also my sounding board. Appreciate that in more ways than one. And Miguel, he brings his passion too, guys. All these coaches have such a passion in a different way. Passion for the game, passion for the kids, passion for playing, passion for this. It's just coming out and like oozes out of them, every single one of them. So it's pretty awesome when you have a set of not only coaches, but even administrators that just really are pouring their support out into each other. And we're not perfect. We disagree, we talk about things, but this thing wouldn't happen without them. That's definitely true.
And coaches did receive a few accolades, and I know that's not why you do it. But I know you surpassed a milestone in victories as well with and also Coach Martin with over 200 career coaching victories, and you went over the 100 mark, and it's exciting stuff. I mean, you wouldn't be able to do it without the kids and without the teams and the parents and communities and all the efforts that go into it. It's just a small little additional thing next to your state championship trophy, which I think that's pretty darn cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay too.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll take that. An exciting off season, no doubt. Many of your kids are getting involved in other sports and activities and other things that they do in their lives, and which is great. At the same time, I'm sure that there's going to be another level. There's going to be some I guess maybe higher level of expectations. Maybe not always wanted, but it's there. State champion. I mean, you're going to be recognized in a lot of different ways. I'm sure your kids will be ready for it.
I'd like think we can all say we're not perfect. We don't expect to be perfect, and we all can work on some things. But I don't think they're going to forget that feeling of being a state champion on that floor. And I think that desire is probably going to be there again next year. I know they love the game. These girls, they're dedicated. They have the passion for the game and playing. Some of them go into basketball. They have the passion for that. They have passion for sports and multiple things. State track, we've got participants in that. And some of them don't play any of the other sports, maybe softball. They've had some success in that too. This is hopefully just going to be fuel for the next event, whatever it may be that they are going to be involved in.
Exciting stuff, Kathleen. Thanks for your time as always. Appreciate it. It was a lot of fun to talk Nugget volleyball throughout the season, and to end it the way you did is super, super cool. And there's 4 teams in Minnesota volleyball that are leaving as champions, and you're one of them. That's super exciting stuff. Thanks again for the time. Appreciate it very much, and enjoy the off season and all that comes of it.
Sounds good. Go Nuggets.
It's Kathleen Rustad, head coach, Hawley Nugget volleyball. One final time, state champions, Class AA.
Time now for our senior spotlight on the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show. And today we're talking to Lily Olson, a senior cross-country runner at Hawley High School. And Lily, you were at the state meet the other day in Minnesota, which was how many times have you run there now?
Well, I've been to the state meet 5 times, but I've ran at this course in particular twice.
Okay.
And then also a couple times for GRIAC, so like 4 times.
Yeah, the Roy GRIAC meet, one of the top high school meets in the upper Midwest, as I understand it. And how did you do with the recent Class A state meet?
Pretty well. Our team took 5th, which was a lot higher than we were projected. So that was definitely really exciting for us. And I ran the best time I've ever ran for the course. So that was great for me personally. So yeah, it went really well. It was really fun. Beautiful day for running. The weather was gorgeous. So yeah.
Yeah, your time was right around 20 minutes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How does that compare with other times that you've had running at state?
So running at state, it's my best time I've had at state. But yeah, so that's been good.
That is just an amazing day for anybody who's never seen a state cross-country meet at the University of Minnesota Golf Course, named after Les Volsa, the longtime Gopher golf coach. Just all the different colors of the runners that they have their school color outfits, plus whatever fall colors are still left. It's just an amazing day, isn't it?
Definitely, yeah.
So running over your career, pardon the expression, 6 times all conference. And how many trips to state now?
So we've qualified for state 6 times, but I've actually only been 5 times because of the COVID year.
Right.
So, but I would say 6, yeah.
How did you get interested in running? So I would imagine this would be something you kind of got started on early to be able to be all conference as, say, an eighth grader?
Yeah, so I always kind of liked running. We did some stuff when I was a lot younger, like in elementary school,
Mhm.
but I didn't really even know what cross country was until my coach came up to me in sixth grade and he talked to me and told me to join cross country. And then I was like, well, I'll try it. I don't have anything else. And it ended up being my favorite thing. So yeah, it's definitely really glad that I took that leap and tried something new.
How soon was it when you realized that you were good at this, but that you could also stay up with kids that are 4 or 5 years older than you?
Um, I guess it just kind of happened. Like, I don't really know if there was anything in particular that I did. It just was like the people above me really helped me, get better and become the runner that I am now. So I definitely have a lot to thank them for. They were definitely very instrumental to my love of the sport and my growth in that.
I've talked about this with the Hillsborough Central Valley coach, Kirk Zink, and we agree that a lot of distance running is not only the legs and the wind, but also the head. You found that too?
Yes, definitely. I think that, um, you know, your training can only take you so far. You have to mentally take yourself the rest of the way. Because if you don't believe that you can do it or you don't know yourself well enough for that and you're not ready, then you just won't do it if you don't think you can.
Will you be running cross country or track in college next year?
My plan is yes, to do that. I would really like to pursue that. I haven't made any final plans or anything yet, but that's definitely a thing I'm looking for as I choose a college.
Have you got any idea of what you would like to study?
I'm leaning towards biology, but I definitely have a lot of decisions left to make about that. So, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Plenty of time for that. Lily Olson is our senior spotlight cross country runner from Hawley High School, and you'll be running track. I assume you'll be running the longer distances.
Yeah, I my favorite is the mile or the 1600. I love that race. So I'm hoping to run that a lot this year. I also love the 4x800. That's a really fun one. It's really cool to be a part of a relay in track because it kind of gives that team element that you
Mhm.
don't have as much in track as you do in cross country. So I those are probably the two things I'm most excited for, but I'll definitely do a couple two miles or 3200s. Yeah.
All right. Now, outside of running, what kind of things do you like to do in school? What are your favorite classes?
Well, I love science. I It's really interesting to me and kind of what I want to go into. I also really like English. I love to read. So those are definitely the two things I enjoy the most for my classes in school.
And what are some hobbies that you have outside of school?
Well, like I said, I really like to read. I also really love to go camping and hiking, just like being outside. That's really enjoyable for me. Um, I love to spend time with my friends, just doing fun stuff and hanging out. Um, yeah, those are probably the main things.
Anything about you that would maybe surprise people
Um,
besides that question?
yeah. I guess I think a lot of people think that I like really know what I'm doing all the time because I'm just like confident in what I'm doing, but I'm actually never know what I'm doing. I'm always kind of just like figuring it out as I go, just like everybody else.
Okay, so you're looking forward to track season. Does that mean the winter will be kind of a quiet time for you?
Yeah, I think that it'll be a good time to like, kind of rest a little bit and then rebuild up training. I think I'm going to try to do more training than I've done previously just because my summer training this year went really well. So I think that trying to incorporate some more winter training before track would be beneficial to me. So I think that I'm going to take like a little bit of a rest and then like build back up. That's my plan.
That is the thing. It's different training to run what a few miles to run over 20 minutes at a time, as opposed to, say, running 4 or 8 laps around a track.
Hmm.
Different conditioning there.
Yeah.
All right, Lily Olson of Hawley, our senior spotlight for this week. Congratulations on a great high school cross country career, and hopefully some more good things coming your way your senior year when we get into track season.
Yes. Thank you.
And we'll be back on the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show, brought to you by the Hillsborough Economic Development Corporation after this.
Treat yourself to a great career at American Crystal Sugar Company. Team up with quality people making quality products. Full-time and year-round in a stable business. With great pay and benefits, including time off available from day one. American Crystal Sugar Company invests in you to promote your continued growth and career advancement. Grow your career, doing your best work within the world's best beet sugar company. Apply online today at AmericanCrystalCareers.com.
Don't be fooled by that beat-up old cap. Its faded crown represents the tireless work of America's farmers and ranchers. Its sturdy brim, their dedication to providing our nation with a safe, affordable food source. So we'd like to tip our hat to them. Farmers Union Insurance, protecting those that protect America's food source.
Visit with Ryan Opdahl, your local Farmers Union insurance agent in Hillsborough.
Joining us now from the West Fargo Cheyenne Mustangs, part of our Dakota preview here, Dakota Bowl preview on the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show. They got to wait late night, but it's always a fun one to get to at the end of the evening. That's a 3A football championship, the Mustangs and the Fargo Davies Eagles. And Jeremy, from your perspective here with West Fargo Cheyenne, before we talk about your opponent and some of the all-conference folks that were able to make it from your squad this year, what have you liked best about your team in the 2 playoff games against Bismarck Legacy and Bismarck High to get to where you are, which is a chance to play in the Dakota Bowl?
I think we're playing our best football at this time of the year, and that's kind of what every team's goal is, to be at the postseason, be able to play your best ball, and I think we're doing that pretty well right now.
Give us a trait or characteristic that best describes the senior class. You know, every class is a little bit different. Every team kind of brings its own unity or its own identity kind of throughout the course of a campaign. But what does this senior class do really well on and off the football field here, Jeremy?
Honestly, I think they get along really well. I've had teams that, they're friends and this and that, but these guys, they all get along really well, and I think that transpires to the team.
And then from the kind of the conference, you had 7 folks that were able to make on the all EDC 3A football conference team. Obviously, Cade was named Senior Athlete of the Year, and I know you've been asked numerous questions about him, and rightfully so, with where he's heading off to college as well. But what does Cade just kind of bring to the football field, maybe, and even in the practice or off the football field, that folks don't get to see day in and day out here, Jeremy?
Yeah, he's relentless. He works so hard, and I think that's infectious to the other kids to see him. He never takes a play off, so they better not take a play off neither. I think that helps.
Without question, when you can get your senior leaders like that doing stuff of that nature. Your matchup here with Fargo Davies, I guess, what do you remember the first time about a month ago, and what's going to be a challenge against the Eagles coming up here later on Friday?
They're a very good team. They're very well coached. They come off the ball hard, and they don't make a lot of mistakes, so it's going to be a battle.
When you look at the Eagles, do they at all kind of resemble your squad a little bit in terms of the traits or characteristics that they like to do? How much is it kind of looking in the mirror in a roundabout way here, Jeremy, this season?
I mean, yeah, they do. They have good athletes, and they know how to get their athletes the ball, and all that. Both Werremeyer kids are playing really good football right now, so it's going to be a battle.
From the coach's perspective, you've been able to be here before. I know for some of the kids, maybe they were there in the stands. Maybe some of them were on the sideline in a different capacity, but now you have this group that has a chance. So from the coach's point of view, how much, I guess, advantage, if there is any, once you get to this time of the year with all the media car washes that I like to call it, you got a lot of people picking at you in different ways here, Jeremy, before you get to Friday. But how much of an advantage is that, knowing kind of how you weave through the schedule day in and day out before you finally get to kickoff?
I mean, it does help, but it's still, it's the new experience for every team, and this team hasn't dealt with that, so it's we'll see what happens, see how they do, but I think they'll do fine.
What makes playing in the Fargo Dome during this time of the year different compared to playing outdoors? I know this year we haven't had to worry about the 0 degree temperatures and snow. I know sometimes you talk about coaches saying, you got to make sure guys are rehydrated and ready to go because they haven't played indoors in a while. So what's a challenge playing in the Fargo Dome? As much as it's cool to play in front of 18,000 seats and the crowd is going nuts on both sides, Jeremy, what's a challenge from your point of view?
I think you just hit the nail on the head right there. It's a big stadium. It's a little undaunting for these guys, and come in there and see it packed like that. If you don't, you get that deer in the headlight look a little bit, then I think you'll be okay after that.
Couple other players. I know we can mention all of them, but I'm just going to bring up a couple of them here that made the all-conference team again. Sullivan, Irie, Cooper, Bryant. Just kind of what do they bring to the club here this season, Jeremy?
They're great leaders and great players. Cooper's been out for us. He got hurt, so he's been which has really hurt our team. But the guys have rallied together and done the best with what we have.
And then from that standpoint, with both Caden Olson and Braden Olson, what do they kind of provide to the club?
That's basically the quarterback on both sides of the ball is what that is, and they do a great job of that. And we see eye to eye. I see eye to eye a lot of both of those. I coach both of those positions personally, so it's huge to have kids like that, seniors like that you can rely on.
It's obviously a fun time in the Newton household here. You're making your way to the Dakota Bowl. Your wife's getting ready for an EDC volleyball tournament run. What's this like this week been like? You've been through it before here, Jeremy, but what's it like from a coach's perspective, knowing that your wife is doing one thing, you're doing the other as you've done throughout the course of the season, but now you're kind of getting to the culmination of where both teams want to get to?
Yeah, no, it's nice. It's fun. I've been keeping up with her team all year, and she's been keeping up with ours. So, and the nice thing is this year they play Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, so I won't have to miss any of it and get some more chance to connect and talk about it. So, yeah, we're looking forward to it.
Do you guys have a lot of conversations, not so much about the game of volleyball or the game of football, but just coaching and certain things that kind of come up throughout the course of a year, or how to talk with players and relate to them in different ways? Because as we alluded to, every team's a little bit different. Every player's different. How much do you guys talk about coaching, or is it, hey, when we're home, we just try to, don't worry about the coaching aspect as much as possible?
No, we talk about it a lot. We do. We bounce things off each other, and I think both of us are receptive to each other's what we're doing, and we're both dialed into what each other's doing. I think that makes it easier to connect on that stuff. So yeah, it's a cool dynamic how we're able to work that out.
Whether it's baseball, other programs that we've seen, obviously softball have done really well, obviously boys and girls basketball. When you go to other sports here, Jeremy, what is it about West Fargo Cheyenne Mustang Pride that kind of goes into the school once you get to this time of the year, particularly in this week with football, obviously having a chance to play for a title, EDC volleyball, and the Mustangs trying to, represent well there and try to earn another EDC tournament championship? What is it about Mustangs athletics that's done really well, whether it's this sport or any other sports throughout the course of a school year?
I think they've just had some really good kids that have answered the call at the right time, and I think that over the past years that's helped, and hopefully we can do that again this year. So we got some good kids.
Final thing for me, Jeremy, biggest thing you want to see from your team is what once you finally get to kick off on Friday night?
I just want to be ready to play. I want to be able to play our best game of the year, and that would just be awesome for us.
Jeremy, thanks so much for your time, and best of luck here later this week.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
As we continue on our YourLiveEvent.com coaches show here tonight, joining us from the Fargo Davies Eagles, that is Wayne Werremeyer here, as the Eagles are making their way to the state Dakota Bowl championship in 3A, going up against a crosstown team in the West Fargo Cheyenne Mustangs on Friday night. And again, for you, Wayne, before we talk about the rematch with Cheyenne and just talk about this week in general, what have you liked best about your team's playoff run so far, with 2 wins, defeating Mandan, and then going on the road to the Magic City and knocking down the defending champ in Minot High as you get ready for this Cheyenne game? What do you like best about your team in the 2 games so far in the postseason here, Wayne?
2 things really stand out to me. The first is the resiliency. I don't even know if that's the right word, but the way the kids bounce back, I'll use football coaching terminology there. Mandan took the ball, had a 6.5 minute drive, stuck the ball in the end zone. We're not really used to that, a ton. People have scored quick on us, but no one's really driven the field and taken a chunk of 6-7 minutes off the clock. We got the ball. I think we had a nice special teams return. We got the ball, and we stuck it in the end zone, and we continue to do that all night against Mandan. We only had 2 possessions in the first half against Mandan. Mandan did a nice job holding the ball. We scored on both of our 2 possessions, and we held them on 1. Or I think they scored on 2 too. But so that, and then going, the Minot game, probably a dumb coach's decision. I go for it for 4th and 7 on our own 28-yard line, and we claim I'm a couple yards short. But the defense goes back out there and makes Minot go backwards and makes Minot punt when they started on their 30-yard line. So just the ability for the kids to bounce back out of some tough situations. And then the second thing is physicality. We preach physicality all year, and we say we were a physical football team. We tell the kids we want to be a physical football team, and I think in the first 2 rounds of the playoffs, we've proven that we are a physical football team.
When you take a look at West Fargo-Sheyenne and Jeremy Newton's club, what just kind of stands out year in and year out when you go up against the Mustangs here from your perspective, Wayne?
Well coached. They always can run, and they always are going to line up and thump you. I mean, from the O-line to the D-line to the linebackers to the running backs, and I know they're not running their triple option as much anymore. They still have it. That they're running more of a spread type, read option type stuff, but it doesn't make him any less of a physical football team. And they've always been able to run, and they're going to be, they don't make mistakes. And Coach Newton always has a team on the field that is well coached and very disciplined football team.
From your perspective, just for the second meeting, I know a low-scoring game, people just look at the box score, then they kind of sift into it and see different possessions or turnovers or stuff of that nature that just kind of comes out. So I guess what's the biggest thing that has to change from your perspective, whether you won or lost that game, Wayne, the second time around here in this championship match?
Oh, if we want to win, we got to put the ball in the end zone. We forgot to do that in the first game, and it wasn't from lack of trying. Cheyenne played a whale of a football game. So, I think there's things on both sides, both teams. We put the ball on the ground. I think I counted 8 times. We lost 4 of them, 7 of them. We didn't get hit. We just dropped the football. On the flip side, I'm sure Coach Newton's saying we had the ball inside the 10, or they had the ball inside the 10 3 or 4 times, and they only got a field goal out of it. So, our defense had, I know at least 3, might have been 4 goal line stands. So, that ball game could have been 28-0. And if we clean up a few things, possibly could have been 14-3 on the other side of things too. So I think both teams are going to come out. I don't think there's going to be a ton of surprises. We're going to do what we do. They do what they do. We got to execute. They got to execute. And like I always tell the kids, it comes down to turnovers and special teams. Who's going to win that battle?
What does it mean for this year's club to eventually get to the Dakota Bowl, first time in 10 years since 2014, for the Eagles to get to this standpoint here, Wayne? What does it mean for the program, but more importantly for this team this year to, get to that championship game?
I'm so excited for the kids. I've been around a lot of these seniors, or half of these seniors, since they were 7 or 8 years old, and coaching them in the old coach pitch baseball and things like that. So we have a lot of good kids on this team. We have a lot of good families that are backing those kids up, and just for the kids to get to experience the Dakota Bowl. It's been a long time. I'm trying to think. I think I was at the 2014 game. I know both my sons were, because they were running around as ball boys in the 2014 game. But I don't know if anybody else in the program was around back then. But it's time Davies got back to it.
Yeah, a little different too. You were at the Alaire Center for that one. This one, you don't have to make as far of a trek, obviously, to the Fargo Dome. And I know we kind of chatted about this before we got going, Wayne, but I always like to call this week the media car wash for coaches from the media perspective, because you got people who you've talked to all year reach out to you. Then you got folks who maybe you haven't heard from, just different parts of the state that, are doing state preview stories or talking about certain assistant coaches or players who maybe have a tie to their respective communities playing in this championship game. So what's this week kind of been like for you compared to a normal week where it's week number 3 or week number 7 as you get ready for a championship game at 6:40 on a Friday night?
It sure was nice that Veterans Day fell on a Monday this year, because I was able to sift through a lot of that stuff. But it's a lot. But yeah, it's good, because I'd rather have this than no one covering the kids and no one caring about the game and things like that. So it's a lot. The focus still needs to be on the football game for our kids. So we try to insulate them from all that stuff. But it's just one more thing to do, and maybe one less hour of sleep you get, but we can sleep next week, I guess.
For you, Wayne, when you take a look at the Fargo Dome, obviously you're playing indoors, and for some teams, this is the only time you get the chance to play indoors. Obviously, you're used to playing on turf and stuff of that nature, but do you change much up for the course of the week for the kids in terms of what they're going to expect, playing in front of 18,000 seats, playing in front of 2 really big fan bases, obviously a championship game, or you just try to keep the main thing, so to speak, and that's just, get get through each practice, get through each rep before you finally, get to that kickoff on Friday night?
Oh, I think you have to prepare them. We had a conversation with our kids last night that, I said, stand up if you've played inside. And then I forget all these kids play FM football and they have those dome days, which are 20-minute games. And so all the teams stood up and I'm like, and then I figured it out. I said, okay, well, this is going to be different than the FM dome games, and I tried to explain that every championship game I've been a part of, after about 3 to 5 minutes, these kids are gassed because it's different air and it's a little bit warmer. And my conversation with them yesterday was, you just got to fight through the next, once you're gassed, you got to fight through the next 3 minutes, and then your conditioning is going to kick in, and you just got to trust the process and things like that. So we're going inside today and tomorrow. Thankfully, we got some time in the new Park and Rec facility, and the taxpayers of Fargo. That facility is awesome. If you have not been out there yet, you've got to go check that thing out with the turf and the basketball, and the train is only going to get bigger by the time they put hockey and pickleball, and what a facility for Fargo. I mean, the Parks and Rec people, hats off to them. They did that right. So we're sneaking in there today. We're going to maybe bring a few speakers to crank some crowd music in there. Thursday, we're back outside. It's going to be loud at our stadium. We need to learn how to communicate using hand signals and things like that when we're used to doing some things verbally. So I think those are the two changes, a little bit more heat than we're used to, a little bit more crowd noise than we're used to. So we're going to try to prepare the kids for it.
And the last thing for me, Wayne, and you maybe already touched on it a little bit, what's the one thing that Davies has to do well from your perspective once you get to kickoff on Friday night to try to hoist that, second state title in program history?
I think defensively, and hopefully Newton's not listening to it, but so he'll attack there, but he knows. Defensively, I thought they gassed us up the middle a little bit in their pass game. We've got to be sound with routes over the middle. And offensively, they lined up and they've got 3 or 4 really, really good D linemen. And those 3 or 4 good D linemen took away 6 gaps. We can't let 4 D linemen play 6 gaps. We have to let 4 D linemen play 4 gaps. And so we have to win the gaps that they're not playing.
Hey, Wayne, thanks so much for your time. Best of luck on Friday night against the Mustangs in the 3A state championship.
Appreciate you covering us. Thank you.
Live, work, and play here in Hillsboro, North Dakota. The Hillsboro Economic Development Committee can assist you with information and support for business and housing. Experience Hillsboro. More at 104.
Joining us now from the West Fargo Horace Hawks is Harvey McMahon as they're getting geared up for their first ever Dakota Bowl appearance here for high school football as they will tangle with an EDC foe in Grand Forks Red River on Friday afternoon from the Fargo Dome. And Harvey, first things first, before we talk about the all-conference team and some of the members that were able to make it, yourself being a coach of the year in 2A as well on the EDC portion of things, just what has this last couple of weeks meant to the program, finding a way as you did last year to get to the semis, but this year taking that next step and making it to the championship game?
Well, the playoffs is a special time. And, we've always talked about that we really want to make sure we're a better team playing meaningful football at the end of October, November versus in August, and we do feel like we're a much better team now than we were back then. And so just like, what does the playoffs mean? It means everything because up until this point, we're playing our butts off so we can have another week together. Otherwise you're going home, season's over, and for a lot of these kids, they're hanging up the pads. So you're basically fighting just to continue to keep the season alive and playing for each other. And when it came to the semifinals, I think experience helped a lot. Just knowing the little details can make a big difference in the game. And so making sure each snap counts and taking care of the little things.
Obviously a cool moment. We saw the girls basketball team last year make it to state for the first time in program history. Now you get to see the football team do that as well, making it to the championship game. How cool is that just to see the growth of all programs, Harvey? I know we kind of spoke about it before, but now that you're in this particular week in championship week game mode, what does that just kind of mean to see all the progression on whether it's sports or academics here for the Hawks over the last couple of years?
Well, it's really cool to watch. It's a little surreal just because, again, I was one of the first hires back in 2020, and so I've kind of got to see everything, even beyond football. Like you said, the academics, basketball, our baseball team had a good season last year, and just seeing the success that the school is having, and it's really cool for me just to be able to watch and to be able to say I was a part of it from the beginning. Is I take a lot of pride in, and I love the new faces that are coming into the school, like you said, Brent Hintz with girls basketball. Quinn Irie with baseball, and there's more. And just the teachers, the administration, and just seeing everyone kind of hop on the wagon and have fun with it and see that we got something special here in Horace.
As you take a look at this matchup with Red River, it's the 2.0 version, the second version. So what do you remember about the first one, Harvey, that has to change, or what do you remember about the first one that has to be similar for your team outside of the box score, going in that overtime game with them the first time?
Yeah, I mean, what I remember is it was a very physical game, which I expect. I take a lot of pride in making sure that my teams play physical, and Red River does the same thing. They're a very physical team. They're big up front. I mean, you can tell that their kids have bought into the weight room, and that's awesome. So, what has to change is, we have to I think the more physical team probably wins, and also probably the most disciplined team wins. So again, I think it's just taking care of the details and doing the little things right, because it's who knows how this game ends up, but it's certainly shaping up to be a tight one, and one play could make the difference.
Go over some of the players. I know we could talk about a lot of them here, but let's go over the seniors that made the all-conference team for you here. Let's start first with Mason Johnson. Just kind of what does he provide to the club this season here, Harvey?
No, he's a special player. He is the toughest football player I've ever coached. I mean, that kid is so tough. He's extremely talented, obviously, athletically, but his mindset is just different out there. He's a leader. He's not a vocal leader, but he's one of those that when he steps on the field, everyone else just kind of falls in line because they know they got kind of the big brother. And Mason lives up to that. And selfishly, I hope a college picks him up because I would love to keep watching him play after Fridays.
Another Johnson on the senior side with Blake. A similar question on and off the football field. What does Blake kind of bring to the Horace Hawks club this season?
Well, see, he's a fun story for me because, nobody wanted to play offensive line for us. And so I actually renamed our offensive line. We have the center, the tackles, and we call them fullbacks because everybody wanted to be a fullback, but not a guard. So we don't have guards in our offense. We have fullbacks, and Blake is the ideal person for that position. So he has bought in to the whole fullback deal we got going on. He went from linebacker to D end, and as soon as he bought in, the dividends are paying off right now, and he's just playing his tail off. He's played himself onto an all-conference team. His buy-in is really the difference there.
Another one of the seniors in the final one we'll bring up here, just with Gage. Similar question: what does he just kind of provide to the Hawks this season to allow you to get to this point?
Yeah, I mean, similar to Mason, Gage is just tough. He's more of the vocal leader of the defense. He plays unafraid. He's done a good job developing. He's always been a hard-hitting linebacker in between the tackles, and now he's developed his game to where he can pass drop and move sideline to sideline, and he's really developed. He's a 3-year starter for us, and he's continued to grow his game. He's never got complacent, and he plays unafraid. So real tough kid for us in the middle there.
I know these are all great awards, and you still got one big game left, but obviously you're named as well as the EDC 2A Coach of the Year. Just kind of what does that mean for your club here, Harvey, and for the coaching staff and for yourself to get that recognition from your fellow peers?
Yeah, I saw that, and you think about it, and really what I think about it is it's a good encapsulation of the people around me. To get an award like that, it's not any individual person. It's my pregnant wife putting up with a football season. It's the parents helping out with pregame dinners. It's my assistant coaches helping out where they can, and it's really more of a representation of everyone around me.
The one thing that the Horace Hawks have to do well against Red River come Friday once you get to kick off, which I know is kind of the interesting thing, the third game of the day. You're not sure when you're officially going to kick off, but when you finally get to kick off on Friday afternoon, Harvey, what's the one or two areas that the Hawks have to perform well to bring that first football championship down to Horace?
Win the turnover margin, win the penalty margin, be the most physical team, and then ultimately be the most together.
For you, Harvey, how much are you enjoying this week? How much do you change things up, or do you keep it the same from a coach's perspective? Because playing a little bit earlier than what you normally would on a Friday, playing indoors, you're playing in front of 18,000 seats. You're going to have two really good fan bases there as well. So how much have you talked about that with your team, saying, hey, this isn't outdoors where it's 30, 40 degrees, which fortunately this year we haven't heard to worry about Mother Nature too terribly much, but it obviously will be different playing inside in like 70, climate controlled temperature than going outside to practice today where it's windier than trying to hold on to your cap in a football.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of a balance because, on one side, you have to address the details, right? Like playing in the Fargo Dome is going to be way different than what we've been accustomed to the last 3 weeks. We're practicing indoors a few times this week, and then we're practicing our field. So there are some differences, but I think that's part of, in my opinion, good coaching is, what do your processes look like, and how do they hold true at this time of the season? I think you're supposed to do a good job of building those processes so kids do get in a routine early in the season. And so like by this time, when you do have a couple of these curveballs or these change ups, the kids already know the expectation. So whether we're practicing indoors at the Rustad or at the field, they know that being punctual on time, they know the warm up we're going to do, they know the routine of practice. So those processes, not the haze in the barn, so to sense, they kind of know exactly how we want to run it.
Final thing for me, Harvey, when you think of the Dakota Bowl, just kind of what comes to mind for yourself as a coach and just kind of being part of the area for a while, hearing about this particular weekend for high school football players, coaches, those that are involved just in high school football in general. What does kind of Dakota Bowl week, so to speak, mean to you now that you're in the thick of things?
Well, as soon as we won our semifinal game, I had over 10 coaches around the state just text me and honestly they just told me to enjoy it. And so that's something I'm going to put an emphasis in is obviously, we are going in there, we're expecting to win the game, we're expecting to take care of business, we're going to give it everything we have, but it's also, not there's a lot of people who want to be at the Dakota Bowl, and we got there in 3 years, and that's really cool and everything, but it's also you don't know the next time you're going to be here. So we're going to make sure we take the opportunity or the chance to enjoy it, but also attack the process at the same time.
Hey, Harvey, congratulations on a tremendous year. I know you got one more game that you want to take care of business here against Red River. Thanks for everything this year, and best of luck once you get to kickoff coming up on Friday afternoon.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me as always.
That again, Harvey McMahon for the West Fargo Horace Sox.
On your live event coaches show this week, we're chatting with Grand Forks Red River head football coach and Vyrn Muir. And Vyrn, lots to talk about as the Dakota Bowl is fast approaching on Friday. Before we get into the significance of this year's Dakota Bowl, let's talk about your team's postseason performance a little bit. A big win in the quarterfinals to start over St. Mary's, and then facing a team in Wahpeton that challenged you in the regular season. They certainly challenged you in the postseason as well. Walk me through what it took to get the guys to the Dakota Bowl on Friday.
Yeah, so lucky for us, we got to play both of those games at our home stadium, so we didn't have to get on a bus and go anywhere. So that's always a bonus. And we were able to accomplish a couple of things that haven't happened a whole lot in Grand Forks for our program anyways, and winning a quarterfinal playoff game and then winning a semifinal game. So those were two pretty exciting moments for our program and our kids and our team, especially our group of seniors who are doing a lot of things for our program this year that haven't been done in either a long while or not at all. So the St. Mary's game, we just came out the gates right away, and we scored on our first, I don't know how many possessions we had in the first half, 5 or 6. I can't do math in my head right now, but scored on all our possessions right away. We got off the field on defense. I think they maybe had 2 first downs in the first half. I mean, we just played a really good football. And against St. Mary's, who was a little banged up, they didn't have all their guys, but we just performed at a really high level that game. So we were able to pretty much sit all the guys that didn't play at all in the second half, and we were able to get a lot of people in the game. And that's always fun to do, to have our younger players get to play in a playoff game and against a playoff caliber team. So it was a good experience for that week. And then coming into the Wahpeton week, obviously with our regular season game, we didn't feel we played very well on defense. And as I mentioned to just about everybody that asked, some of that was us, but a lot of it is just Wahpeton's really good on offense with Trayton Mauk at the running back, and then they got some capable receivers and a quarterback that can get it to them. So going in, we just wanted to do a little bit better job getting off the field and slowing down their offense. And anyone that paid attention to that game, the first 4 possessions by the teams combined resulted in touchdowns. So I started thinking, well, maybe the first team that accidentally plays defense, that's probably how the game gets won. But we kind of settled in a little bit and we got some stops. And I still think the key sequence to that game was we got up a score. We were able to stop them right before the end of the first half because they were getting the ball to open the second half. And we got the ball, and I think we scored in about 90 seconds. And for us, we practice a 2-minute drill, some version of a quote-unquote 2-minute drill every week. We always put different time on the clock. And our kids, we've done it since week one. And so we've done it 12 times leading into this week. And I prefer when it goes well for us on Thursday. This last week, it did not end well for us on Thursday. We ended up throwing an interception. But during the game, it worked very well. And our guys know what to do, and our coaches have practiced calling the plays and where we're at, and we didn't use any timeouts. I mean, I just thought if anyone wanted to look at, I mean, what are we doing during the week and what are we doing over the body of our season to be able to go out there and execute that particular roughly 90 seconds of football and not have to use a timeout because our kids got out of bounds. We were able to get calls in quick enough and get a score before half. I just thought that was kind of just, okay, our program is operating at a high level from coaching standpoint, from a teaching standpoint, our kids understanding what we need to do, and then our kids going out and doing it during the game. So I thought that was a pretty cool moment for our program to be able to do that and get that score before half. So we had a 2-score lead going into halftime. And I told our guys, we were going to have to get that stop before the first half because we didn't want them to score when they had their last possession first half because they were getting the ball to begin the second half. And I felt like if whoever was up to 1 score, you got a little bit more comfort. There's no panic on the team. You're always calling from ahead, so you're not trying to get that score back or whatever. But I told them we're going to have to come out and get a stop to begin the second half. And I didn't know it was going to be 15 plays before we finally got that stop. But they had a 15-play drive, and it was extended by penalties on a couple of them. And then they scrambled on a third down. But usually in high school football, if your defense is on the field for 15 plays, it doesn't end well for the defense. And a lot of guys will tell you, too, if your offense is on the field for 15 plays, that usually something bad happens in there. But Wahpeton kept moving the ball down, and we got that big 4th down stop down on our end of the field and took the ball back. And I think we ended up going down and scoring. And so we were up by 3 scores at that point. And then same thing happened again, just like in the previous game. Malk pops off a long run, and we had him bottled up pretty good most of the game. I think at that point he was maybe right around 50 yards, and then he gets a 60-some yard run. So it got him his 100-yard rushing game against us. But he got a long run, but then we kind of put the clamps on him, and we took off. The first regular season game, we got the ball back with just under 5 minutes and was able to kill the clock. There was about 7 minutes left, and we took off about 6.5 of that or so. So when they got the ball back at the end, we thought we could maybe kick a field goal, but knowing what happened the last time we kicked a field goal towards the end of the game when we played Horace, we just kind of said, well, we don't want anything catastrophic to happen, that's how they get one of the scores they needed. So we just said, we'll just go for it on 4th down, and then they got a long way to go, not a whole lot of time. They had 1 timeout left at that point, or maybe they didn't have any, I don't remember, but we figured it'd be pretty difficult to go 90 yards or roughly close to 90 yards down the field and then get the ball back on an onside kick and score again with about 1 minute and 20 seconds left. So we went with that decision, and it worked out for us that we were able to get off the field there without giving up points, and game was over, and we're able to get that big semifinal win.
You mentioned kind of your seniors, your big group of leaders this year. Kind of talk about those guys specifically and how they really propelled your team to the Dakota Bowl, specifically guys like Kraft and Clefstead.
Yeah, well, Thomas had a huge night, best night of his career. He ran almost 30 times. He had 250 yards. I didn't realize in the game that he scored all our touchdowns because I didn't pay attention. I missed 3 of his scores because we were trying to figure out what we were doing on defense to make sure we were good. But so he had quite the individual performance, but most of that, gets tied into our guys in the O-line, creating holes for him to run through. And Thomas did some of the stuff on his own. His first touchdown run was probably through our offensive line. His second one, he got through the line. He got stood up by a couple of guys, and he just overpowered him and popped off the tackles and ran it in. So I felt like it was just a good display of what we feel like he's done for us all year. I feel like I keep having to convince people he's one of the best players in the state at that position, at our level anyways, and I think he showed it that night. So I was real happy for him, happy for our O-line being as physical as they were and opening the holes up for him. Pierce did a good job of distributing the football. Again, we did have a couple turnovers, but on that 2-minute drive, he did a great job getting the ball to the guys that needed it, and our guys made catches. Clefstead had a big catch to move us early in that drive, the 2-minute drive, and then both Carter Flom and Caden Mackey made key catches for us and got out of bounds. So pretty much everyone contributed on that. And then defensively, and offensively too, Ray Dusek doesn't get a lot of credit because he doesn't get a lot of touches or everything, but he's an integral part of our rushing game. He's a good receiver when we find him, and he's also one of the guys on our defense at the linebacker spot and makes a lot of plays for us. So between him, JB, and Jake Foss and Clefstead on the defensive side, they made a lot of plays up front that were able to keep Wahpeton from scoring and then getting pressure on the quarterback and having him throw the ball a little bit before he wanted to. So just kind of those were the guys that were the key contributors on both sides of the ball. But is an overall very well played team game. Wish our special teams a little bit better on that onside kick that we didn't get, but it was the first one we had to get all year. Just unfortunate the semifinal game they weren't ready and go grab that ball or whatever. But those things happen.
As you alluded to a little bit, a lot of things this year, things that Red River hasn't done in a long time or ever. Looking at the significance of the Dakota Bowl, it's two first-time teams there, and as far as Red River is concerned, it's the first championship game since '87, I believe, and the first ever Dakota Bowl appearance for Grand Forks Red River. Kind of touch on the significance of all this.
Yeah, it's been, 2 years ago, we had a good group of seniors, and always at the beginning of the season, we asked them to give us a personal goal and then a team goal. And a lot of them had written down Dakota Bowl, and I was thinking, man, I don't know if we're that team. And I was a little worried that they had such lofty aspirations when we're coming off 2 years before that, when they were sophomores, we didn't win a football game. And then the previous year, we won a few games. We were able to make the playoffs as a AA team, but we were the 7 seed. Probably should have been the 8 seed, but the outcome would have still been the same. We just would have played St. Mary's instead of Jamestown. And so we hadn't really done a whole lot on the positive side of things on the field, but we knew we had that group of seniors was pretty talented and good. So it took me to about the middle of the season to realize with that group that I was like, okay, we might have something here that can get us potentially to that final game. And unfortunately, we had to go through a very good Jamestown team again in a semifinal game out there that I felt we played, we didn't maybe play as well as we wanted to because Pierce got hurt right away. And our senior who had been waiting in the wings, but played 2 years before for us, he came in and did a pretty good job. But Jamestown was a really good football team for 2 years with that group of seniors they had that year, and we just weren't quite there. So this year when the kids brought it up in the summertime, they said, we should probably talk about this a little bit because they really felt they had a pretty good chance to get there. And I kind of thought, with looking at where we thought other teams might be, that door was probably going to be open for us to have a chance to get there. Obviously, still had to go through everything to get there, which we've done that up to this point. But of course, in June, you're a little cautious as a coach to say, let's not worry about what's happening at the end. We got to go, everything through that's on the front end of that. But so we weren't afraid to talk about it. And, I felt like our guys handled it. We had a really good talk. I think I mentioned this to you when I talked to you before, but Coach Manassa gave a really good talk to our guys the week we got ready to play Jamestown and just challenging them to take the week, take it week by week, game by game. Every Sunday we start off 0-0 and the goal is to be 1-0 on Friday. And I think our guys really bought into that mindset, so to speak. And that's kind of how we've approached every week of the season as we've gone through, including the playoffs.
Of course, you, if memory serves me right, are a history teacher, and the significance of having two first-time Dakota Bowl representatives and having, I believe, 3 first times in the semifinals with Minot North as well. A lot of football has been played since 1910 when it first came on the scene in North Dakota, but just talk about the historical significance of being a part of this newness.
Yeah. So with our school, we were in 2 state championship games before the Fargo Dome was constructed. So in 83, 87. So it's been a long time around here since we've been able to get to the point. So 22 was an exciting year because we made it to the semifinals, which has been done back in the 80s and maybe the early 91 team. I can't remember if they made it to the semis or not, but it'd been a while since the team had gotten there. So when we got there this year, and then we felt we had a pretty good chance to push through the semifinals to get to the finals. It was pretty exciting and pretty awesome for our program. Obviously, the new programs, I am J.O. Theologist is no longer with us, but it took him 5 years at Davies to kind of get them up and competitive, but they won a state championship in his 5th year. Cheyenne, it might have taken them 4 or 5, I can't remember exactly, but they were good. The first year they had seniors, they got pretty competitive, and the next year they were kicking everyone's butt. So kind of similar to Horace, but Cheyenne had to come in at the AAA level, so maybe it took them another year or 2 to get going, but they were pretty quick to get there. And Horace is now in their 3rd year, and they made the semifinals in their 2nd year, and now they're in the state finals, their 3rd year of existence. And then you got Minot North, who has a handful of seniors on their team, so they're pretty much just a glorified JV team, and they win the West and get to the semifinals in their 1st year. So it's just like all right, I guess the new schools are just ready to go. And then you got schools that have been around forever. They're just plodding around trying to get there and all that. So I think the storylines for the 3 of the 4 teams in the and even Wahpeton too, it's been a while since they've been there. And obviously they are one of the smaller AA schools. So for them to be around banging on the door is pretty cool for their program too. And so I think just all the 4 teams that were in the semifinals, each team has a unique story. And the 2 that got to the finals, we each have that story still that we can chase and try to put the finishing touch on the end of it.
Let's talk about your opponent coming up on Friday in West Fargo. Horace defeated them 13-7. Maybe the epitome of an ugly win, but a win's a win. But they're going to give you their best coming up at the Dakota Bowl.
Yeah, they've been able to run the ball pretty effectively the last 2 weeks in the playoffs. So that's one thing I thought early in the game we did sort of okay at. And then when they had their quarterback in there, he hurt us with a couple medium length passes that changed the field for him a little bit. But they scored on one of their trick plays, and we had 3 guys right there. We just didn't make a play, and their guy made a really nice play. And then, of course, their quarterback went out with an injury, and then they kind of had to figure out what they were going to do. And I didn't realize, because I don't pay attention during games, but their backup quarterback, he got hurt during the game. And then it just kind of became quarterback by committee. I listened to Coach McMahon speak on another show. I think he spoke last week, and he said that he couldn't call any play that he had on his call sheet there in the 4th quarter, and they were basically just asking guys in silent who wants to play quarterback. And I think when they got to that overtime session, they just had the kid in there that said, "I'll go do it," and it did look like backyard football and everything. So I'm thinking, they felt like maybe one slipped away from them there. And uncharacteristically for us, we had 4 turnovers that game, and we've kind of just told our team all the way along that we're really good when we hang on to the ball on offense. When we give the other team possessions, we're not as good, because we're really good when our offense gets to stay on the field. And the more we put the other team's offense on the field and we got to play defense, it usually doesn't work out as well for us. So our goal going into it is to be tough against the run again, and we got to do a better job against the passing game. But you got to stop the run first and just try to be good enough against the pass. And then we got to stay on the field on offense. Horace's defense statistically is the best defense in the state. They have create a lot of turnovers. They got a lot of good guys on that side of the ball. So, I feel like that's a big strength of their team, because they get more possessions for their offense with the turnovers that they're able to generate. So that's going to be the biggest challenge for us, is when our offense is on the field, they got to stay on the field. So we can't turn the ball over, and we got to move the chains. And for us on defense, we got to get off the field, because we're better when our offense is on. So I think both teams, have the same idea going into the game, that defense has got to be stout and the offense has got to be productive. And special team play may come into factor. I don't know, but I don't know if it'll be a turnover fest like we had the first game, because they turned the ball over a few times uncharacteristically too, or we're both going to hang on to it to be a low-scoring affair, high-scoring affair. I don't know, but I would expect that it should be a fairly well-played game, and whoever makes the fewest mistakes will be the team that'll be happy at the end.
There's been a lot of work that's been done from the off season all the way up to this point, getting to Dakota Bowl, and still some X's and O's to figure out in the next couple of days. But give us a little bit of insight into your final pregame conversation with the guys before you head out in the dome.
Yeah, our big thing with these guys has been this idea of finishing. So part of an idea we got over the summer was we haven't really, you guys haven't done anything yet, because in 22 we got beat in the semifinals when the goal was to get to the final game. Last year we got bounced out in the quarterfinals, and we stumbled a little bit in the regular season. So it was kind of like, what's your legacy going to be? You guys are walking around like you've done anything, but you haven't done anything yet. In their 9th grade year, they were undefeated. They lost the last game of the year in a close contest to Valley City. So, it's just kind of like, let's finish what we started. And so that's kind of been the lagging background theme we've had with all the different kind of talks during the week. And so this week we're kind of focusing in on that we've got to where you all said you wanted to be. All the work that you guys have put in the off the field, on the field, when you're at home thinking about, everything that every team that wants to get to this point has done. We're here, so let's go out there and finish the job, and don't just be happy for getting here. And it feels like, at least practice yesterday, our guys are businesslike, and we're out there and they're still having fun, but it's not quite as loosey-goosey as it maybe was through the last 2 weeks, but they're still relatively loose, and we seem to be somewhat executing fairly well. So I think the biggest thing is just going to be we're always enjoy it, because this is what you're going to remember, is that through this season is you got to the Dakota Bowl, that experience of the beginning of the game, but then we still have a game to play. So enjoy. It's like we say for our Cushman Classic, enjoy the beginning part of the game when you go out there and everyone's yelling at everyone from the bleachers and everything like that. And there's people there, and just enjoy the ambiance. And the warm up happens pretty quick, so maybe you won't be able to enjoy it as much. But once the game starts, the game, and then hopefully we'll be having some good memories afterwards too. But like we said, we got to go play the game and see what happens.
Vern, anything else you want to mention here on the Coaches Show?
Well, thanks. I just appreciate you taking the time to ask about our program again. And I know our kids are excited, our school's excited, community's excited. So just like Horace, you got two teams that haven't been there for a while. So it should be a fun experience. And hopefully we'll put a good game on TV for everyone between the two of us, and have an exciting Dakota Bowl for the AA division.
That's Grand Forks Red River head football coach Vyrn Muir joining us here on the Coaches Show again. It's Red River taking on Horace, West Fargo Horace, for the AA championship and the Dakota Bowl on Friday. Coach, best of luck in the game. Thanks for the time.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Growers, prepare your fields and yields against the wet conditions for 2025 and beyond with a drain tile project from Chad's Excavating out of Mayville. Drain tiling will improve and increase your yields and land values for years to come. Chad's Excavating provides free, detailed estimates, and with over 40 years of combined success, they provide professional installation and service. Call Chad today to prepare for your future and any questions that you might have. That's Chad's Excavating out of Mayville, helping farmers grow.
There's more at 104. Hillsborough, North Dakota has everything you need on your next road trip. Food, fuel, fun, and family-friendly activities. Stop by and fill up your tank or grab a bite to eat. Have a blast at Goose River Golf Club, the swimming pool, or one of our beautiful parks. There's even ice skating and cross-country skiing. Take in the sights or stay the night so you don't miss a thing. Experience Hillsborough and see why there's more at 104.
Joining us on the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show, we have the head coach of the Leroy-Ostrander-Lyle Pacelli Cardinals football team, Trevor Carrier, joining us this week as the Cardinals get ready to play the Fertile-Beltrami Falcons in the Minnesota State 9-man football semifinals. And Coach, I appreciate you taking some time to chat with me. I know things are getting hectic this year with you guys gearing up for another trip back to US Bank Stadium. And right off the bat, I just want to talk about your newly formed co-op with Lyle Pacelli. Doing some just quick reading, it sounds like it was one of those co-ops that was good for everybody, good for the communities, and it sounds like it's all positive.
Yeah, I think that's, the co-op kind of scares people every once in a while, depending on where you are in the state. But, especially small town, rural, and outside the metro stuff, that a lot of schools need that, not just for football, but many other sports, to be honest with you. For us locally, Lyle Pacelli is about 30 minutes away. They did not have a team last year. Numbers were low. Our numbers have always been kind of low because our enrollment's very low. So we get as many boys as we can get out, but when there's only X amount of kids in school, that puts us in a little bit of a predicament. So we knew we'd have about 20, 21 kids probably. And it's basically what we've had all the time. But with this co-op with Lyle, we had about 14 more kids that came over. Out of those 14, 7 of them, I think, are freshmen. So a lot of younger kids yet, for sure. Will help us down the long run. So it's been a wonderful, wonderful co-op. We didn't know how long it would work, how good it would work. When you bring 4 different communities together, essentially 2 schools, especially schools that are in the same conference, these boys know each other. They've competed against each other for a very long time. So, the jury was out to see if we could make this work, and it's been nothing but blessings. Nothing but positive things to say about Lyle and Pacelli school districts and the communities that get involved. At first, I think it was big. You'd see a separation, between the schools or between the kids, and now it's just one big group, one big family. So obviously 0-8 might have changed that fact a little bit. Let's be honest, winning does solve some things, but sitting here at 12-0, families are nothing but supportive. I've heard nothing but great emails and text messages from all of them, and the way we do things differently here for the positive. So we're very appreciative.
What were some of the challenges that you guys experienced when this co-op came together right away? It's like you said, if looking at the team, you can almost see a difference from, okay, these are the Leroy-Ostrander kids, these are the kids that are coming over from Lyle Pacelli, but right now you're just one big team and you're having a lot of success.
Yeah, I think exactly. I think some of the things just from a school standpoint, transportation was always difficult because of the fact that we get out at different times. And we've made that work. It's much easier when the sun wasn't going down. Now it gets a little more difficult, but I think, the challenge is of bringing a new group of people in to our culture of what we want to do here at Leroy-Ostrander football isn't the same for everybody. I understand that to be honest, may not be everyone's cat. I understand that, understandably so. But you got to get to know us. You got to get to know my staff and the way we do things. I guess we kind of blend old school and new school together a little bit. We do hold them accountable for their grades and everything else. And we love them up. If their GPA isn't where we need to, then we love them up. We get on the line and we run old school. We don't just run during drills. We run. We push them to see where we can go far and build them up. But again, I have a great, and I say it a lot, but I think I have the best coaching staff in the state of Minnesota. I know we're not Maple Grove and Eden Prairie and the big schools, but I got tremendous guys that love and care about these kids. And when they can see that, I think they started buying in. When they started buying in that, hey, this is different. This is a different feel. These guys care about me on and off the field. And once you get that concept up, they start to build trust. Once you build trust, they start to believe in you, they believe in the product. And it's been a wonderful marriage for sure.
Well, I guess how long have you been with Leroy-Ostrander as the head coach now with Lyle Pacelli? And then has the same coaching staff been with you the whole time too, or?
That's a good question. Yes and no. I've been here for 12 years now. I was the offense coordinator for 5 of those years before taking over as head coach. This is my 6th year as head coach. The previous head coach brought me in. We started to turn this thing around a little bit, some dark years. And then he left and I took over the head job. He's the principal here, Aaron Hungerholt. And then he came back after 1 year to be my assistant, which was a nice little role reversal of that's how much trust we have in each other, that he built a lot of things up. I continued and put my spin on it. And then he came right back a year later and continued to give guidance. But my offensive coordinator, I'm the offensive coordinator, but my defense coordinator, Kyle Stern, and my assistant offensive coordinator, Nick Sweeney, and my special teams coordinator, Ryan Evans, they've been with me now for this 6-year run for sure. We've added a couple volunteers here and there too. So when you're best friends with the coaches you coach with off the field, it makes the on the field that much sweeter and that much better. So it's definitely a family atmosphere down here for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring that up, that the former head coach is now the principal, but then comes back and is one of the assistants. That's an interesting dynamic that, let's be honest with ourselves, doesn't work in a lot of places like that.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, if you look at my staff and to boot, I have 2 of my staff members are school board members. So that's always fun too, right? Yeah. And then again, my boss is the principal. I'm the dean of students here and the AD on top of being the head football coach. So I report directly to him on a lot of things. So, but at 3:05 or 3:30, I become the boss as head coach, and he does a wonderful job of giving the opinions. He takes my stuff as well. There's rarely a decision besides obviously the every minute of calling every play, but a pregame and preparations that we don't work together. I'm not the head coach that says this is my way or the highway. I will have the end result on that one or the end discussion, but these guys have equal and honest input. I ask a lot from them. They're in the weight room with me. They're in the weight room taking days every day for our boys. And I mean, we were in film room this weekend for about 6 hours alone. So they're 6 hours away from their families, and we're really breaking down things we can do. So again, I have the greatest staff in the world, and they make me look good.
Well, let's talk about your guys' regular season and season up to this point. Undefeated after a tough couple of years. You were in the Prep Bowl in 2021, like we said. Undefeated this year, and you beat the former section champion from last season, Kingsland, twice this year.
Yeah, Kingsland is just a tremendous team. I know they made it to state last year, but Matt's been doing a wonderful job of building that program back up from a lot of down years too. For us, and like them, it starts in the weight room to get these kids prepared physically, mentally, emotionally, pushing those weights, and they've done a wonderful job. They're a very, very good team. I've already been online and stated that they're a top 5 football team as well. Section 1's a very good section. It's been that way for many, many years now. It's a gauntlet every Friday night, and Kingsland's, if it wasn't for us in their way, they could be sitting right here as well. So again, nothing but respect for what they do over there. They're a very good program.
Well, talking about your 2021 team that was in the Prep Bowl against Fertile-Beltrami, I was there covering that game that went your guys' way, of course. Any differences, that we'll see from your group on Thursday, whether it's scheme, game plan wise, things like that? What can we expect?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people have talked about that game since then, and again, nothing but respect for Fertile-Beltrami. Brian does a great job over there. They keep winning year in, year out. Then they probably know the U.S. Bank Stadium by heart, because they've been there so many times, and they're a great team. 2021 was great for us. We ended up on the right side of that one, but that was a long time ago. Our two teams have changed personnel-wise. There are some some guys that came back. We have a couple. They have a couple as well. We've been in the film room and compared the tapes. I mean, there's a lot of things that they do similar. But the thing is, they've been outrunning a lot. I mean, they score a lot of points. They shut people down. They really haven't been down. I don't know if they've been down all year, to be honest with you, for even a minute. So the game planning now changed a little bit from a random regular season game to the state playoffs. And I know Brian will do a great job of getting his guys ready. Isaiah's a handful for them. We've seen that in film. We feel we have a good plan together, but when it comes to us and them, are there some similarities of what we did in 2021? Sure. Offensively, stuff like that. We have new wrinkles, and we'll use those when we can. But I would say it's, we're still staying spread, and we're still doing the things we do.
Oh, one thing that we always talk about with Fertile-Beltrami and all the games that we see, with Isaiah Wright, Jonah Harstead, the two horses, if you will, as running backs, is they'll score from anywhere on the field. Time of possession doesn't really seem to matter. So when you see a team that can be as electric like the Falcons are, what do you think, and what do you go over as a coaching staff to try and match up against something like that?
Well, it's a different scheme. They run, a lot more. They have a couple base formations, but the one that we consider their base, they're definitely in tight. We're three receiver spread. But the funny thing is we have that same feeling. We feel that we can score quick. We don't track time of possession. I've never been a time of possession guy myself. I think time of possession is great as a stat. But I mean, it's like first downs. If you score an 80-yarder, you don't need 17 first downs. We're not playing the pros where we're keeping the offense and defense on the field for a certain amount of time. My players, just like Brian's player, play both ways. So they're on the field regardless if it's offense or it's defense. So for 9-man football, time of possession isn't a big deal. But, yeah, they can score at will. They break the game open. Harstead does a great job, too, as a running back, as a complimentary. And it's great to see him back after being injured last year. That shows that kid's heart, and we know that he sits in the middle of the field as a linebacker, too. So we definitely are paying attention to him. Although Isaiah gets a lot of credit, he might be the heart and soul of that squad individually, anyways. So again, very good team. But yeah, they can score at will. And they can score quickly. If you give Isaiah any amount of room, he can take advantage of that. He's not a kid you're going to catch from behind either. So we got to make sure we contain him. We're not going to stop him. We understand that concept, but contain them and slow down the big plays and make them drive. Probably the same thing Brian's saying to them. Make us drive 7, 8, 9 plays instead of, hey, boom, we get a big 80-yarder. So similar philosophies, different schemes.
Yeah, I don't think either of you guys want it to be a shootout by any means on Thursday.
No.
Maybe you do. I don't know.
No.
But so let's talk about your guys now. And you've got 4 players that were on that championship team from 2021. And, some quick research, Cam Hungerholt, one of those guys that played in 2021, Minnesota State University, Mankato commit. Seems like everything starts with him.
Yeah, Cam is one of the best players in 9-man, not the state. I mean, I know 9-man gets because of stats, but, just looking at the stats right now as I'm looking at him, he's thrown for almost 2,200 yards, 31 touchdowns, 2 picks only. Not too bad. He completes about 55% of the balls, and we take a lot of shots. We're not a dink and dunk offense. 3 receiver spread. We'll put the ball down as much as we can and air it out and go as deep as we can at times. So we find the matchups we like and we exploit them. We feel we have good players across the board, so we find out what you'll give us and we'll take advantage of that. But obviously those are good air numbers, but again, if you want to talk about Cam and on top of that, he's got almost 2,700 yards rushing, 35 touchdowns, and he doesn't put the ball on the ground either. So he's definitely a dual threat quarterback that can play both ways, and especially in our RPO system. But yeah, I mean, if you're going to talk Leroy football right now, it'd be hard pressed not to talk about Cam right off the rip.
Well, you said he has 2,700 yards rushing too.
Yeah.
Holy. So yeah, that's when those numbers they definitely pop off the page. So with
Yes.
the 2021 team and with Cam leading the charge now for you guys this year, how much does that experience help you guys now back at US Bank Stadium?
Oh, well, it's definitely helped calm some of the nerves, especially from the staff as well. We're only as good as our leaders, but we've been there. But it doesn't matter. The bright, shiny lights of US Bank Stadium will catch everybody. It's what we all shoot for. All the kids are shooting for it, dreaming of it since playing outdoors at Thanksgiving with their moms and dads and stuff like that. So these are dreams come true for these boys, for everybody. And I'm proud of every team that makes it because there's so many coaches that don't make it. Hall of Fame coaches. I've been lucky enough now the second time in 6 years. And you appreciate these moments for sure. But we're definitely excited. And I know Cam's excited for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of the question as broadcasters that we'll always ask coaches, before the game, what would you say your biggest keys to a win on Thursday are going to be against Fertile-Beltrami?
Well, that's a great question. Fertile brings definitely a lot of different aspects to the game, but we feel we see some of those things too in Section 1, especially who we play every week. For us, again, we just talked about it. Keys for us, limit the big plays for them, make them drive, get them down in distance, get them playing differently than they want to be. They run the ball a lot, but they will play action and get some number 4 involved as well. So they did a good job of mix matching it, especially last time we prepared for them. There's a lot of things we prepared for. So but we need to get them down in distance as much as possible and get off the field defensively. And then offensively, just be you. That's what we can tell the boys. Just be you. Be athletes. Be athletes in space. That's my big philosophy on offense is find your good athletes, find the athletes, get the ball to them, put them in space, make the defense tackle them one-on-one. But that ain't easy to do. So we're definitely a space control team. So if we just be us and tell our boys to be you, it'll be a good game.
Well, hey, sounds good, Coach. Like I said, I appreciate you taking the time to talk with us here this afternoon and on our pregame show for our radio broadcast. And just from the 2021 game, as soon as I saw that you guys were in the bracket, I'm like, oh, this is going to be fun this week. So I appreciate it and good luck on Thursday. Here on the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show, we have Fertile-Beltrami Falcons head football coach Brian Nelson joining us for the second week in a row after the quarterfinal round win against the Cromwell-Wright area Cardinals. And Brian, speaking of that game from last Thursday against Cromwell-Wright, things went pretty well for your boys, and it showed with a 48-7 win. What can you tell us about, what went so well for you guys that night?
Well, I think we came out ready to play, right from our first offensive play that went for about 70-yard touchdown. And, a little bit, they were a very good football team. They were able to drive the ball down a little bit. We did a little adjusting with our defense. And, I think the rest of the game, our defense played very, very well. And our offense was clicking pretty well that night. And, when good things happen, gain more confidence as the game goes on, and our defense stepped up, and just an all-around good team effort.
When you were preparing for the game against Cromwell-Wright, obviously it's the state playoffs, so you're not taking anybody lightly like you never do, of course, but there were a team that also beat Nevis, the top-ranked team and the defending state champion. So when you're preparing for a team that knocked off the top team in the state, what was your message to the guys heading into that one?
It's that's who we drew in the kind of the seeding, and that they were a good team. We watched them on tape, and we were very impressed with their running back. Their one quarterback was very elusive. The younger quarterback came in and threw the ball very well. The other thing we're impressed was their guys up front. They were very solid both on the offense and defensive line, and we told our kids, you better get ready for a kind of a slugfest. And it was a little bit, and we were fortunate. Some big plays busted for us, and we were able to get up on them.
So you guys take care of business in the quarterfinal round, 48-7, and now you get Leroy-Ostrander-Lyle Pacelli, the newly formed co-op of the Cardinals this year. And you saw Leroy Ostrander back in 2021. But before we talk about the X's and O's against the Cardinals and what should be another slugfest on Thursday, the community support with Fertile-Beltrami. I saw 3 charter buses now headed down to US Bank Stadium this week.
Yeah, it's been unbelievable. Even at Moorhead for a quarterfinal game, we had a ton of fans there. It ended up being a nice evening, so it wasn't too terribly cold. The wind had died down for us. And now going down to the semifinal game, our booster club has sponsored 2 charter buses, excuse me, and they filled up really quick. And I know the fire department, I think, is sponsoring another one where they're paying part of the cost. And I think all 3 are filled up, and we'll be sending a band bus down with our cheerleaders and stats on Thursday. So we should have a good following at the semifinals. And it's been that way all season. Great following. We surely appreciate our school community people and those that support us.
So the game now for the semifinals, Leroy-Ostrander-Lyle Pacelli. They've got the state's leading rusher in Camden Hungerholt, who is, we talk about your guys putting up video game type numbers, and they do, but he's doing the same thing with over 2,000 yards passing and 2,000 yards rushing on the season. So how do you even begin to try and game plan against a guy like that?
Well, we broke down quite a few films this weekend, and the kids have watched quite a few too. And, it all starts, our offense runs all around him. He's going to run the ball. He's going to throw the ball. He's going to try to buy time and throw the ball. So, Coach Larson's done his work. He's got a couple of different things or wrinkles we can throw at them. And, hopefully we can contain him. I don't think you will stop him completely, but hopefully contain him to, where we can have a manageable type of offense for them.
In 2021, when we covered you guys in the Prep Bowl, it always felt like Leroy Ostrander had space to run. The 9-man field is narrower than the 11-man field, of course, but because of spreading receivers out to either side, they always had space to run, it felt like. And watching some film that I've been able to dig up kind of looks similar. So what's the key against stopping a rushing attack when they do things like that?
Well, back in 2021, they had quite the quarterback too. I believe his name was Chase Johnson, if I'm not mistaken. And he was just a dynamic player, much like Hungerholt is. And, looking back, we look back at what we did in that game, and we did not have a whole lot of defensive fronts ready for them. We basically relied on our base defense. So we said one thing we're going to change is have some other options to go to. And, we've incorporated them. We've only had 2 days of practice, but luckily tomorrow we get to go early and we get an hour and a half of practice time at the Maple Grove indoor facility. So we got to hone a few things we put in. Had a little damper put on our last quarterfinal game. A person who we really need for this type of game. And Joe Sorensen went out with a shoulder injury, found out to be a broken collarbone, and he had surgery today. We wish him the best of luck and prayers, and it sounded like the surgery went well. But, he's been a stellar D-back for us for 2 seasons here. And if you remember him playing in the Fargo Dome last year, he had just a tremendous game against Clearbrook Gonvick. And, we're kind of scrambling a little bit now, moving some people around, and we really need one more day of practice to hone those things.
So now looking at, it's the next man up, right? I know Steven Sather had the interception in the quarterfinal round. Do you turn to him now in the starting spot where Joe was?
Yeah, and Steven, he started against the Border West game. Was kind of, we needed more D-backs in, then we needed defensive linemen with the offensive scheme they run. And he was hurt for a majority of the season too. He broke a bone in his ankle. I think it was like the second week of football, regular season. And fortunately, we got the okay pretty much 2 weeks ago that he would be available to start practicing, and he was ready to go in that quarterfinal game. And, he's a good D-back too. He played well against Border West, and we're turning to him that he's going to have a much bigger role now and moving some other people around too a little bit.
Yeah, and I hate to keep bringing up 2021 because it seemed like the sun just shined on Leroy-Ostrander that day in the Prep Bowl. But if I remember correctly, and I haven't taken a look much at Leroy-Ostrander this year as far as the size up front, but that season, were you guys a little undersized, and that seemed to give you guys some fits up front, kind of like you said before?
Yeah, a little bit. Back in 2021, they had a couple defensive ends that I think they both went on to play college, and we had a tough time handling them. A couple guys up front in the offensive line, too, that were pretty good, too. And, this year, it looks like, we'll match up size-wise pretty good. And, athletic-wise, too, I think we match up pretty close, too. So it should be a whale of a ball game.
And talking with Coach Trevor Carrier and looking at your guys' scores for both teams, putting up well over 50 points in certain games, I don't think either coach, and correct me if I'm wrong, wants it to be a shootout come Thursday.
No, I'm going to guess they are scheming against what we do well on offense, just like we're doing the same thing of what they do well on offense. And, hopefully our guys can get some of the new stuff we put in. We can use that and confuse them a little bit. And hopefully we can get our offense rolling like we have most of the season.
Well, hey, sounds good, Brian. Thanks for taking the time to chat with me here today. I know it's been a hectic week getting things put together, and we'll see you down in Minneapolis for the game against Leroy-Ostrander-Lyle Pacelli. We're looking forward to it, and good luck on Thursday against the Cardinals.
All right, thanks, and thanks for the coverage.
Parenting is hard for all of us. And so providing those little resources that we can share for those conversations that are hard to have, and to kind of be that icebreaker for both professionals, parents, and then open up that conversation to the more engaging conversation that's needing to be had.
Being a parent myself, oftentimes it's the simple things that make a difference.
As a busy parent myself, just engaging with your kids, making it an everyday thing so they know that you're there, they can always come to you when those difficult situations do arise.
Contact Trail District Health Unit in Hillsborough for more information.
Sharing our heritage, sharing our future. Choosing the right bank for your financial needs can be challenging with the many choices available. Dakota Heritage Bank is pleased you're interested in knowing more about what they can do for you. The Dakota Heritage Bank community bank setting is a strong advantage they have over larger, less personal banks. Customers are more than account numbers, they are friends and neighbors. Working together, Dakota Heritage Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
And right now we're glad to be joined by head coach Elliott Belquist for the Rockets of New Rockford-Sheyenne-Maddock, currently in his 16th season. Thanks, Coach, for joining us here on your live event coaches program. And, got the big championship game coming up this Friday at the Fargo Dome. You're going to meet the Lobos of Lemoore Litchfield Marion, but we'll talk about that here shortly. But first off, we want to talk about the playoffs and the Rockets really cruised in the playoffs, and your team is averaging 60 points per game and only allowing not even 10 points per game. So talk about the playoffs and maybe even that WNG game that you beat last week in New Rockford. So how did everything go there?
Yeah, I guess you start off with a team that you played before with North Prairie. Kind of stressful in the fact that they know you know them. They're gonna probably give you some tricks and some different looks, and we got through that. They gave us a good battle, and our kids stepped up, and then after that, you start playing teams that you've like Grant County and West Hope. We've never played before in my career here, and I don't think in the program history probably we've ever played them. So that's a little nerve-wracking. You gotta learn as much as you can about those teams and just try to figure out the speed of what their players are and the physicality of what they are, and so to get through those two, coming into this week, it just kind of felt like the weight's off the shoulders. It just being in that semifinal game last year. Our coaches didn't want to see our kids lose that one again and see that defeat on their face. It was a tough loss last year, and these kids, they talked about it nonstop. So, just to get through that win, and it just feels like the weight's off the shoulders, and now we can just go play and have some fun. We know a little bit more about Lemoore, playing them last year, but just go have fun. You're there. We don't have to worry about weather. We don't have to worry about wet ball. We don't have to worry about getting our field ready. We just get to go down there and play.
Yeah, Rockets and Lobos, like you kind of mentioned, they're no strangers. You met them last year in the quarterfinals. You won that one 24-18. You have some previous postseason history with them, and and then other sports like baseball, that kind of thing. So you're pretty familiar with that team then, right?
Yeah, I mean, both them and us, we know each other, and we know each other's athletes. Just playing them in basketball last year. I always playing them in baseball, playing in football last year. So we know a little bit more about the athletes. They're a great team, obviously, to get this far, and they've had the same success that we've had this year. But yeah, it's going to be a challenge, and I think the two best teams made it. I think it's going to be an entertaining game, and looking forward to the challenge.
Yeah, Lemoore Litchfield Marion, they're averaging 60 points per game on offense and allowing 14, so really similar there as far as that stat's concerned. Are you changing anything up this week in practice to prepare for the Dakota Bowl on Friday?
No, I mean, obviously every team's going to have a few new wrinkles in their game plan. No, I mean, we want to go do what we do, and we got to figure out what they're doing to us and figure out, Coach Delabar is a unbelievable coach. He has a great history up in Lemoore and in Langdon, and he's going to have his boys ready, and they're gonna do things different, and they're going to try to mess with us a little bit, and we're going to have to figure it out. And just like them, they're going to have to figure out what we're trying to do different and how our plan is to stop them. So I expect a good battle. I mean, it's going to be a fun, entertaining game. We have there's athletes on both sides of the ball that are tremendous athletes in the state and in football and other sports, and it's just going to be exciting to get them out on the turf and settle it there.
So it's the first time to the Dakota Bowl for New Rockford-Cheyenne since 2012. You won the Dakota Bowl that year, so it's been a little bit for the Rockets to go, and of course New Rockford-Cheyenne-Maddock the co-op this year too. So
yeah, feels like a long time ago that we've been there. So trying to remember the bits and pieces that we did back then, but now it just it's the community is excited, and now been a lot of hype this week. The student base and the fan base are all ready to go and get our send off tomorrow, and I feel good to get on that bus and just go and get down there and have a practice down there and just get away from everything and get ready to play.
And the 9-man championship is at noon. I think the Class A Division A is at 9. So it's a little different from Friday nights, obviously, but the playoffs are in the afternoon too. So it's pretty much kind of around the same time, right?
Yeah, I think we played one of them at 1 this year, one at 2, and then the third one is 2:30. So it's been a little all over the place, but you just adjust to the game time. It's gonna be a little different, playing a little earlier, so you have to get up and get moving a little earlier, and get your breakfast in a little earlier. But it'll be nice not waiting around till 2:30. That got to be for a long morning there, and let the nerves get to you more and more. I'd rather. In 2012 we played at that 9 o'clock game, and that was kind of nice. You get up and get over with, and you can enjoy the day. But it'll be fun to watch a game before us, and kids can soak it in a little bit and get ready to play at 11 or 11:30 whenever our time is.
Okay, and then also we want to ask, with the nervous, obviously the championship, Dakota Bowl, a lot of people are going to be there. How do you calm, how do you, keep the kids focused and not, get their butterflies out and concentrate on the game?
I don't think there's anything you can do to get the butterflies out. I think you just got to lean on your leadership and your maturity and your upperclassmen that have a lot of experience to, get rid of those butterflies early. You can't let it hang around, and they're both teams are gonna, when they're warming up and get on that field to get, run around for the first time, they're gonna be juiced up. But you just gotta settle in and wherever you start, offense or defense or kickoff and kick return, whatever it is, you gotta make a play right away and move on and get ready to go. I think sometimes a team that gets rid of those jitters faster, we'll maybe start off better. But they're a mature team that have a lot of returning players, and so are we. I feel like I don't feel like the jitters are going to affect either team. We're just gonna. I think both teams are just gonna step out there and strap it up and get going right away.
What's been your favorite part about coaching this team this year? I mean, you're undefeated, and you've been cruising to the Dakota Bowl here this year.
Just our leadership of this team. It's so every year is different, obviously. Just these seniors really take care of a lot of stuff. Seniors and juniors, you don't have to deal with a lot of little things. Just little stuff like stretching and doing all your warm-ups, and you don't have to babysit it. You don't have to hold their hand doing it. They take care of it. Lets us sit there and talk with coaches maybe a little bit more before practice, or it just all those little stressors that come in some years where you have to do a lot more things to get the practice going and get it upbeat. These guys just take care of it. So before the game, there's no screwing around. They get themselves ready. It's just when you have 10 seniors and 6 juniors on the team, you just put it on them to take care of the problems and the little things, and that's been the best. And then just at times, it's been frustrating. These kids have been frustrated. I think going through the regular season, they played like I did the math one day, 19 quarters out of 32 quarters. A lot of games it was half the game they played. So they're upset about that. They're frustrated about that. So you felt bad for them, it's like, but what are you going to do? You're not going to run the score up and do all that. So that was hard to see them go through that, but you just got to remind them what's the big goal, what's the big picture here, staying undefeated, obviously, but staying healthy. We want to play into November. We want to play deep in the playoffs, and we need people here. We need people on the field and not on the sideline banged up because we did something stupid with playing you too long. So, it's been good, but there's been some frustrating things out there, but obviously we like those positives a lot more.
All righty. Awesome. Thanks so much, Coach. We appreciate you joining, and good luck on Friday against the Lobos of Lemoore Litchfield Marion. One more question before we let you go. I just seen on Facebook your son, Bo, he's going to be playing his last game at the Allaire Center for UND, the Fighting Hawks. So what are your thoughts there with Bo? You're going to be, you're going to be in Fargo on Friday, and then I'm sure, Saturday in Grand Forks. So
yeah, it's just another hurdle that we have to get through. It's been a crazy 5 years. We'll go down to Fargo, obviously, Thursday, come home probably Friday, get up Saturday morning, go to Grand Forks. I think there's probably some senior stuff. I haven't even heard senior stuff on the field before for the game. I haven't really had time to think about it, obviously with our situation going on here. I saw the post and talked to him a little bit, but it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard, seeing that career come to an end. And he gave us a great 5 years. He had a great career. Now, we don't know if it's going to be 2 games, but no, it's going to be tough, but we'll get through it.
Okay, sounds good. Well, thanks so much, Coach, and good luck this Friday at noon. We'll have the game right here on yourliveevent.com. Chase Miller with the call. So thanks again, and good luck, and I'm sure we'll talk again in the future. So
sounds good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you bet. We'll see you later.
All right, welcome back on Coach's Corner, and it's time to visit with Warroad boys hockey coach Jay Hardwick as week number 1 of practices is underway. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Good. 2 good first days. It's good to get going and a lot to learn, but the boys have responded well and they're skating hard. So it's been good.
All right. And off a successful year last year, and just a whole lot that could be said about that year or 23-24, but wrap it up in just a few thoughts here, because it was an important year. It was a meaningful year, I think, for the Warrior hockey program.
Yeah, it was, with everything that went on, I think we all had something to play for. Sorry, my dogs are in the background. the coaches had something to coach for, and the players were playing, for themselves and for other people. And I think we responded unbelievably. Last year was so much fun for me, just being with the kids and how they responded. It was a great way for a lot of those seniors to finish going back to the state tournament for a third straight year. And I couldn't have been prouder of them than the way that they played last year. And like I said, for me, it was a lot of fun, and it meant a lot.
What a way to get there, though, in that section championship game when Broden scored that overtime winner. I mean, people are still talking about that goal.
Yeah, and it was, I've been in those situations before, and unfortunately, I've been on the wrong end of games like that before, and to come out on top how we did, and being at home, and just the way it all happened, it was awesome.
Yeah, and one final note on 23-24, then we're going to jump into 24-25. You had a camera following you last year. You were part of that program. I think it was Dream State, if I'm not mistaken. And you had you had someone following you throughout the season, and folks were able to watch whenever those episodes were up. And boy, I tell you what, that was fun.
Yeah, it was, and they did a great job. I was a little nervous to begin. Just you wonder, are they going to be in the way, and is it going to be a distraction? But Ian and Murph were true professionals, and they really they know hockey, and they know how it works. And after a while, you didn't even know they were there, and they did an unbelievable job. And I'm really happy we did it. Because it'll be, something that we can look back on, years from now, and hey, we were on a TV show, and they got to capture, the season that we had. And I was nervous for a couple of reasons, just because I know teams in the past that had been on Dream State that had aspirations of making to the state tournament. They fell short, so there was kind of the Dream State curse, and we were able to break that curse. And then to go along with Hockey Day too, they say that if you're in Hockey Day, that's kind of a curse, that it takes too much out of you and you can't make it to the state tournament. So we broke that too. So we kind of it was good. We showed teams that you can play in Hockey Day, and you can be on Dream State, and you can still accomplish winning a section title and going to the state tournament. And I'm going to be the Dream State's biggest proponent going forward. If anyone has questions about it, or maybe some trepidations about being on it, I'll surely talk to them and tell them how great of an experience it was.
Yep, absolutely. Talking with Warroad boys hockey coach Jay Hardwick here on Coach's Corner. And the Warriors are into practices and whatnot. And I think we visited last week regarding all three positions. And we start with goaltender. And I tell you what, Ben Norris, he was kind of the guy last year, and starting out new this year.
Yeah. It's almost a similar situation we were in last year. Ben hadn't played varsity before. I think he had played one game, prior to last year, and he stepped in and, ran with it and had an outstanding year. And, now we're kind of in that same situation where, we've got a number of goalies that are competing to play, but have never actually played in a varsity game before. So I think, be very similar, where guys are going to compete, and we're going to have to see what happens. And hopefully somebody steps up and can kind of follow Ben's example from last year.
Really strong on the back end last year too, with Ryan Lund, who's of course down in Austin in the NAHL, and of course your son Will, and good defensive core last year. This year, what are we looking at?
Yeah, obviously they graduated, but it's good. We brought we're not empty there. We bring Broden back, who played a ton for us the last 2 years, and he's only a junior. And then Sam Hard and Thomas Grappentine and Mason Reed. So we have right there we have 4 junior defensemen that have all played varsity, so that's good to have, and we have some experience back there. And then there's some younger kids that are gonna push for playing time as well. So I think my hope is that defensively that can be one of the strong points of our team, and you kind of steer the ship a little bit and help the forwards get going.
Some high octane offense that is lost to graduation, of course, with Carson Pilgrim, of course, Murray, who's also in the NAHL and whatnot. But good kids coming back there too.
Yeah, Taven obviously played with Carson and Murray last year, so Taven knows what it's like to score a lot and to be on that top line. So I think he's going to kind of lead that. Hopefully lead that forward group. And, we got Taven and we got Ryan Shagaby coming back, who played a lot last year. And then Drayden Johnson, who played a lot last year. And then Wyatt Henham, who, got hurt when we played Hermantown. And, I thought before he got hurt, he was playing, his best hockey and very responsible and very he was just getting better every day. So now he's back to full strength. So it'll be good to have him back as well. And then, then the same thing. There's going to be kids that played JV last year that are going to push to try to play. And then, there's quite a few kids coming off the Bantam team that had success that are going to push to get in those top 3-4 lines as well.
That was the other thing that I was going to mention too. I think we talked last week. You're talking 14, 15 kids that you're going to be having on the roster coming off of that Bantam team from last year.
Yeah, it's a big number. I don't know the number exactly off of that Bantam team, but it's quite a few. And I think maybe I think we have 17 sophomores this year. So it's a lot. So a big chunk, the majority of the kids off that Bantam team are coming to high school. So, it's great that they had success last year and, they know what it takes to be successful. And now hopefully it translates at the high school level.
All right. Again, we're talking with Warroad boys hockey coach Jay Hardwick here on Coach's Corner. Scrimmages, I'm assuming, are going to be a part of preparations for the upcoming season as well for the Warriors.
Yep, we have scrimmages on Saturday. Sartell, Crookston, and Roseau are all going to be here, and we're going to start I think about 8:00 on Saturday morning and have some in the gardens, and then with the girls' game going on, we'll move over to the Olympic for a little while, and then after the girls' game, we'll be back in the gardens for a couple more scrimmages. So it'll be a full day of hockey on Saturday between our scrimmages and the girls' game going on.
Gardens is going to be the place to be this weekend. Coach, appreciate you joining us on Coach's Corner. Best of luck to you on the season. We'll catch up sometime down the road, okay?
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. It's Jay Hardwick on Coach's Corner.
I'm Chase Miller. Thanks so much for tuning in to another edition of the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show is presented to you by the Hillsborough Economic Development Corporation. Join us again next week on Wednesday, November the 20th for another edition here on YourLiveEvent.com.